Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the slight delay there. I forgot my microphone was off. Um, and I do want to apologize to anyone who watches these in order. I've been checking with some decent consistency, and I haven't really seen any views yet. But to anyone who does watch these in order, I know the first video I have acknowledged that I made the mistake of leaving the menu music on, and it was a video done fully in the menu. I rectified that instantly. I turned off all the menu music, hoping that I had fixed things. My first game, I made the mistake of not having it played fast enough, and I fixed that, as well as I think I left the commentary volume and all of that a little high, but I fixed that as well. Um, as you can probably hear by now, if you're watching the video, I've turned it down to about 15. I can't even hear it myself. I've also moved my mic a little closer, hoping to help it pick up a little easier. I watched part of one of my videos back and felt that I was a little quiet, so I thought that maybe this would help with some sound as well. I haven't really seen much, like I said, so this is just kind of continuing the series, getting it going a little bit, trying to make sure that I have some nice rhythm, and I'm not just letting it stagnate. And I was also kind of just interested in getting back into it today. I had quite a bit of fun with the first game, and I'm hoping that this game will deliver as well. For today, for anyone who watches a good portion of the first game, or even all of it, which I wouldn't blame you if you don't have the patience to sit through it. It is 2 parts and about an hour and a half long. But if anyone does, I appreciate it. I have switched to Tennessee's playbook, figuring on wanting to use a little bit more of Lamar Jackson's athletic ability, and kind of just maybe wanting to use a little bit more of the team's athletic ability in general. So I thought I'd see how a new playbook went. I had originally planned to just keep New York's and kind of change it up a bit as I felt I needed, but late in the game, in the first week, there was really a few places where I felt it came up well short of what I was looking for, and I wanted to fix that, as we get a huge play from OBJ, which is always nice to see, especially now when I'm rooting for the Giants, even though I'm normally not. That is definitely something that I want to see a lot more of in this series, as often as possible. I'm not sure how different 19 is going to make it. Obviously, we're all hoping for some very noticeable difference, I would assume. I am, at least myself, and I've got to assume most other people would be, with the new player archetypes and things like that. With things that you can do you would have to expect the on-field things to look quite a bit different when it comes down to it, really. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that really gets into things. I'm going to assume that he'll probably be the best that he can be as a deep threat out of the offense for wide receiver. And I think I agree with that. I mean, people don't really contain his speed or keep him wrapped up. Not to mention the hands, so he's definitely somebody that you want to let get out and run free. Another thing that is pretty heavily changed in this one from the way that it'll be in the next one is progression system. We're still waiting on that. Progress by putting up their play style instead of just having free reign. I wonder how that'll affect things. Because with this Lamar Jackson that I have now, I pretty much have free reign to put up whatever I want. And I've made him a focus player, and as I mentioned before, I made him a superstar, which I thought about it a little after and wonder if I shouldn't have just made him a quick developer instead of a superstar, but I decided to leave it with my original instinct, because of his athleticism, the fact that he's a previous Heisman winner, things like that. It kind of seems like he is someone who would deserve it, and it was the same idea behind giving Saquon Barkley his own superstar rating for development. He pretty much, at least to me, going into the draft, seemed to be an expected sure thing, and you don't see those a lot in the NFL, so I felt it warranted more than the normal development that I made sure to go and look at the roster. It's titled Madden 19 official roster. It's in all capitals. I believe it was Elam JL76 was the user who made the specific roster that I downloaded, and I wanted to specifically include him in some way to give him credit for using his creation. But that's the roster that I downloaded. That's what I'm using. He is the one who made this Lamar Jackson, this Saquon Barkley. I know I haven't given a statistical comparison of Barkley to himself in Madden 19 or maybe another person's roster, and I know my comparison of Jackson has been kind of bare bones, but I kind of just did everything on the fly, so I haven't really done a deeper look myself with the way this was. I kind of just wanted to get started playing, get everything kind of not necessarily figured out, but getting a feel for it. Things will end up being a little different when I do the actual franchise on Madden 19. Like I said before, this is just kind of preview, like kind of a preview of what's coming, but the more I thought about it, it was still something I was very personally excited to do, and even though I'm just one game in with the sliders that I've used, which are once again Mr. Hurricanes on his Bears franchise, I'm having quite a bit of fun, so I'm looking forward to making at least this video today. And I did start quite early, so the possibility of another video is still there today, just to try and get a nice little group of content out for anyone who starts watching. And you don't have to necessarily worry about burning through everything too fast, and if you're enjoying yourself getting stuck waiting with nothing to do. And again, feel free to put comments or thoughts in the comments section. I will say I'm open to better ideas on the way to do my recording, because as I mentioned, this is all just kind of bare bones. I do it through my PS4. I use the regular mic that came with the PS4. And I commentate as I record. I know I've seen a couple of things. I was doing some light research before I started this with my fiance, and we found a couple of things that said that's not a popular thing among people, but I figured with the setup that I have now, it's probably the easiest way to do things. So unless I just can't get it to work in some fashion, or I get a lot of feedback against it, I will probably stick with it for a short amount of time until I find something better. Soon I'll probably get a better mic, and I think that'll improve things a lot on its own. I thought of something else I wanted to mention, but it seems I've forgotten. It's rather early in the morning here. And I'm still quite tired, so I'm sure it'll come to me at some point during the day. But for anyone who had issues with the audio in the first video, I did also put out that I'm open to doing content of other games that I have or that I buy, which obviously I do plan to essentially move this series onto Madden 19. I have MLB The Show 18. I have Super Mega Baseball 2. I have for the current, what was it, WWE 2K18. I know that there are quite a few fans on YouTube of wrestling videos, things like that. I'm willing to do videos of other things if people would like. And as I've said before, this isn't just strictly like a realistic rebuilding a team through the draft or rebuilding a team through this or that. This is a scenario-driven rebuild. This is New York deciding to be the sports town that New York is. The aggressive, we want back in the spotlight sports town that everyone kind of knows New York to be. If they think they have a problem, they're quick to fix it, even if it doesn't always work. And my idea for this came about, as I mentioned in the first video. I know the part had decent audio, but I'll reiterate, in a situation where the audio should be improved, my idea for this came about yeah, sorry, a few weeks ago, I had heard speculation in one of the earlier versions of the roster that Lamar Jackson was supposed to be in the upper 60s in rating, which is quite low for a first-round pick. Even one taken as low as him. So I had thought maybe with the scenario, any given team would kind of be like, well, maybe he's not who we thought. Maybe he won't be the one to take the reins for us. So we'll keep him and possibly give him a try, but at the same time, even though it's kind of unheard of, we won't be against fielding trade offers for him. And I don't know if the ability to trade for him will be improved for me in 19, but this is a trade that's going to happen in 19. I'm going to be the Giants. Lamar Jackson is going to be the quarterback. That's just the scenario that I've set up for myself. In 18, as I mentioned, it took me Eli Manning and my first and second round pick. I originally tried to use Davis Webb, and the trade didn't work. So I will still probably go with the idea of the backup before Eli in 19 as well. And the first and second round pick is really akin to trading away the farm in football. You don't want to give up those two picks if you don't have to. But I had to. And I don't think that I could have gotten a single pick from them as compensation. Maybe one of their future draft picks, but I couldn't even, for anyone who doesn't watch the video, it's all the trading is recorded. For anyone who doesn't watch that piece of the very first video that I did, I could not even get Lamar Jackson and their upcoming 7th for Eli Manning and my first and second. They did put in the logic that teams really hold on to the first round pick, which is not surprising. Again, it is admittedly very unheard of for them to trade them. This isn't likely a scenario that would happen a lot in real life, but this is also New York. This is a team, a city that they could go to the playoffs, they could be a play away from the Super Bowl, and if they think their coach made the wrong play call at the end, they could fire their coach if they think they have a better option, because that's how aggressive they're willing to be as a sports town. So while it might be something that you won't see that often, I really don't think the actual aggressiveness that I'm going with is being overplayed here. New York is pretty much willing to do whatever they can to get to where they want to go, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think it lends well to what I was trying to do. Not many teams are going to give up their current starter and their first 2 picks in the upcoming draft for a completely unproven rookie quarterback that there was heavy speculation surrounding whether or not he would even be a quarterback in the draft. And as that has reminded me, if anyone saw the quick flash at the bottom of the screen, that was Evan Ingram with a strained tricep. He will not be returning this game, which is not good news to me. as I mentioned in the first game, in the drills, which basically turned out to just be a bit of practice with the team before I actually came into the game. He was a very, very interesting piece to throw the ball to. I had a lot of fun even in a short time with some of the stuff that he was able to do in that drill. And he's now out with a strained tricep. Don't know how long the injury itself is going to be, but that's what that was. And my signing from the first episode is also going to miss about half the year. KD Cannon. I don't remember if it was the first or the second series of the last episode, but on one of the two, he was hurt, and he dislocated his hip. He'll be out for 7 weeks, and he was kind of my idea to bring in like a slot receiver to kind of simulate being able to set my own. I felt he was a better option than Russell Shepard. Sorry, I can't talk at the moment. Russell Shepard. I don't know why that was so difficult to say, but it was extremely difficult. Anyway, I felt KD Cannon was sorry. I felt KD Cannon was a better option. So even though he was rated a little worse, I went with him. And I signed him. I put him as a starter. And again, the first or second drive of the first week of the year, he is hit with an injury that's going to take him out for 7 weeks. So, not really much to look forward to right there. Hopefully when he gets back, he can make a decent season of it. He didn't even, because it was so early when he got hurt, he didn't even have a catch. So, I don't know what to expect. And of course, with him just being a quick 1-year signing, he's immediately moving into a contract year. That's not something you want as a player in his position, especially when the other two that I signed that same fashion, Sharif Floyd and Eric Reed, are staying healthy and making a rather hefty impact as it goes. And for anyone who does watch this and get interested in, and again, I do believe it was Elam JL76, and it was his Madden 19 official roster that I used for this. Anyone who is interested in downloading that, the only changes I made to the actual roster for this were upping the development trait of both Barkley and Jackson. Other than that, everyone is untouched. But the free agents, it was a very nice class of free agents. Eric Reed and Kenny Vaccaro both were free agents. There was a third as well, decently rated, right around the same age safety. Eric Reed is 25, Vaccaro is 26. I do believe the other safety was 25 as well. Sharif Floyd is 25 at defensive tackle. But my weakness on the defensive line for my 4-3 was end. So I signed Sharif Floyd. I moved him out to end, as you can see here when I'm controlling him. So he's a bit of a slow defensive end, so I made a run-stopping defensive end with his play style, but he stayed either almost exactly the same in rating, or he might have improved one or two. I do believe Eric Reed stayed the same, or improved one. Katie Cannon didn't move, so obviously he stayed the same. But, they were some decent spots to kind of shore up with. When I looked into it, I haven't checked a lot of, well, I haven't checked almost anything other than Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley. So I don't know how good other people have been made to be, which is, it's funny to me. I figured there was at least one person I would have had curiosity to get the best of me on. Personally, I'm a Falcons fan, and I'm very, very interested to see how Calvin Ridley's little brother is going to do in Atlanta with Julio Jones. So, I have not checked on that, as I said. But now that I've thought about it, I probably will. After this game. And, going into Madden 19, I'm also looking to start an offensive skill position career, so I think they brought Titan back in this one. I haven't really done much with it, so if I'm wrong, I apologize, but probably looking at either doing a receiver or a halfback. I personally am either just not good, or I don't have a lot of fun with the defensive ones, so I don't know that I'll be looking to do one. Maybe after the game has been out for a bit and I've adjusted more fully, but right away I probably will avoid it. I'd like to avoid doing a quarterback as well, because you're left with just a ton of control, and you can really affect the game more heavily than I'm looking to. So, if anyone has a desire to see maybe a halfback or a receiver, they can let me know, and we'll see what, if any, gets more votes than the other. If there's any kind of content for the show you might be interested in, maybe a certain team's rebuild, let me know as well. I have some stuff kind of in mind. I have a few teams, considering maybe a poll or something if I get the viewers for it. I don't want to expand the channel a bunch if there's not really an audience to expand for, but if I get the audience to expand for and they decide they want to see more, I'm happy to put more things in. And he slides down and avoids the hit for good measure. Giants coming up on 1st and goal. Remember, they had only 6 rushing touchdowns all of last year, fewest in the league. Oh, that was a bad throw. Bad throw. Couldn't hang on. 2nd down. Down this close to the goal line. 1st down. Surprise that wasn't a run. Screen. I know we're only about 5 yards out, but in this situation, because 2nd down, that gives me an option of running play action, maybe throwing it. Catching a walk might be a good thing, and Jonathan Stewart couldn't even get around the lineman. So, maybe the trap.
Yeah, he wasn't really going through progressions. He wanted to go to his top guy. You do that against this defense, they'll make you pay, won't they?
Yeah, they certainly will. They react very quickly to the thrown football.
So 3rd and goal, Stewart, and he's able to get it down to the
Didn't
2-yard
quite
line.
have the go.
4 yards, that gets him close to the goal line, but it also brings up a 4th and goal.
There are certain drives in a game where anything less than a touchdown that caps it feels like an absolute disappointment. This is one of those drives.
Down here, I feel like it's a bit of a risk. But at the same time, it's a risk I'm okay with taking, so let's take the risk. Early in the game, it's less likely to come back and bite us. Get another touchdown from Odell Beckham. That is definitely a good outcome there. Can't complain about that.
Big time for them. How about them just deciding to go for it on 4th down? And
that was a pretty long drive.
That looked like an easy 3
4
points.
minutes.
Yeah, you might have had a defensive breakdown in there, but they pressed the issue and found a way to get it into the end zone. Give them big credit for that.
Rosas now to kick this one away.
Let's see if we
On the
can
return, here comes Amir Abdullah.
keep
And a good
Detroit
return.
off
He's
the
across
field
the
here.
35-yard line, right around the
At least for an
36.
extended period of time. I'm not able to get any pressure right now, so I'm kind of feeling like it's only a matter of time before Matthew Stafford really gets a rip on a good throw, and I'm not able to stop him. It won't be happening this play. I'm happy for that. There.
Sometimes I watch games and wonder why they use play fakes on certain passing situations because it's not going to fool anyone. I don't know if that was the case here.
I think
The result was the same. No one fooled. Quarterback was hit.
Another thing. I'm always kind of curious about the other people that play these games. Is, what's a feature that you're hoping for the most to either return soon or maybe make a debut? I know for Madden, I'm happy about editable draft classes coming back because me personally, I like a lot of wide open offenses, and scrambling quarterbacks don't ever seem to get a lot of love in my generated draft classes, so I think I would like to give them a little more attention. I think the feature I'd most like to see debut would be some kind of some kind of tattoo implementation. I know it's not something big in the grand scheme of things, but you figure so many players have body art. It'd be nice to be able to have the option to put some on your own. Another thing that it might be nice to see return would be, I believe it's 2009 or 10 was the year that Drew Brees was on the cover. I didn't play it much because I tend to be one of the unlucky people. If, at least I was on the PS3. if a game could cause overheating issues and crash, for me, they pretty much always would. And that Madden, I know it was a problem for a lot of people. The specific Madden that I'm thinking of crashed a ton. It was a very common issue. Drew Brees was on the cover, and crashed all the time for me. What I would like to see return out of that is color options. Like here, you can only wear safe play for the Giants. You can only wear their primary and secondary colors. But in that one, you could wear any color they had in the game. You know, you could be wearing green as a Giants player or something like that, and it is rare, but there are players who do it. Like, they have maybe a little patch of a color that isn't for their team in their sneakers or something. Well, cleats, I guess, not sneakers, but you know, you get the point. Something like that would be nice to see a return, and like I said, some form of tattoo implementation would be nice to debut for this. For baseball, my return would be, since I've always been a big franchise mode player in baseball as well, there was a specific way back on the PS2. I don't know if it was in the PS3. I don't know when they removed it even. But on the PS2, which this was after the PS3 was out, so it was 2009, because Dustin Pedroia was the cover athlete that year. And it's also easy to remember because 10 and 11 Mauer covered back-to-back. But I spent a ton of time on that one specifically. Actually, if anyone else has ever done this, they'll know what I'm talking about. Game was in and out of my PlayStation or my friend's PlayStation so much that the center of the disc eventually cracked. Just from being either clicked on to the disc reader or to the centerpiece in the case. But the feature I would like to see return in the show is you used to be able to teach pitchers a new pitch. Of course, it was random, and it didn't always work, but it was still an interesting concept. So, you know, guys could kind of develop and maybe take a slightly different path than they had in real life. And, you know, it could be a guy who already had 5 pitches. You could get him to learn a new pitch, and if you liked the rating or something, you could just replace one of his other pitches. But I do believe it has been removed from the game, or if it hasn't, I no longer have any idea how to trigger it, and it's something I'd like to see make a return. Definitely for them, because I thought it made things really interesting. Not only because it's always interesting to see a pitcher learn a new pitch, but on there, it wasn't driven by any sort of algorithm. Like if you had a guy who threw a 4-seamer, a 2-seamer, a slider, and a change, he wouldn't then learn maybe a curveball, because that seems the natural progression, or another fastball. He could learn he could learn wild pitches, like he could learn a palm ball, or the pitch, as well as how well it was rated, just seemed to be completely random. Like it could be a horrible palm ball. Like say if all of his pitches were rated in the 50s or 60s, the palm ball that he learned could be a 30, or it could be the best pitch he had. It could be like an 80 or a 90. I think a lot of what came out depended on your pitching coach and how good they were, but I'm not 100% sure about that. One thing I'd like to see debut, again going back to the tattoos, but I'm a very big person on appearance, and it's always kind of driven me nuts that you're starting to see so many more people in the majors these days with tattoos, and not just tattoos, but visible tattoos, and they're never shown. That's something that I would like to see changed. Something else that I might like to see, I'm not 100% sure if it's a debut, because I haven't exactly played every baseball game that they've done, but I would like to see some form of create your own pitch, or something similar to that. I would also like to see a to go along with the current pitch confidence meter. I think it would be interesting if they would implement a kind of pitch reliance system, like for an example, if Craig Kimbrell wants to strike out, a lot of the times he will throw his knuckle curve, and doesn't really matter if somebody knows it's coming, they still have trouble hitting it because it's that great of a pitch. I would like some system implemented that kind of respects that, because as it is now, I don't know how many other people have experienced this, but if you really pay attention to like your plate coverage indicator, if you have it turned on in a game, you get some just absolutely wonky stuff where they'll look low and in, and you'll throw this awesome 12-6 curveball low and away, the perfect strikeout pitch, and they hit it. Things like that. But it's like, not only is it just an awesome pitch, but for argument's sake, as to why this pitch should work in this situation, you're pitching with, well, now I'm thinking about it, I can't think of a great 12-6er in the game today. I'm sure somebody could drop one in the comments below. But that's kind of the idea. Like, you want more of a you want more of a way to get respect for whatever pitch you would choose as your strikeout pitch. If, say, you're making a pitcher on Road to the Show, or maybe you just like to create a pitcher in your franchise and, you know, have a little fun with that, things like that. You know, you want to be able to have that one pitch get some respect. The same thing with maybe kind of a in that same strikeout pitch system, a setup pitch as well. Just things that they could do with it. This will be fielded at the 6. And he'll take this up past the 20. just going along with the vein here. I know for a lot of people right now that I've seen, for wrestling, the big thing right now is everybody wants to be able to create a comeback. For those of you that aren't necessarily fans of the show, shows in wrestling, you know, comeback is typically the moment where the face or good guy will kind of build momentum and get ready to either make it look like he's gonna win the match or actually win the match. So it's usually a set of moves and or, well, not really and or moves and maybe taunts or something that he does every match, or often, maybe not every match, but it's something that happens very often. I know for a lot of people, getting that in the game has been pretty big. And it's been a pretty popular thing. I would agree with that. That would be something that would be really nice to see. For me, something to see a return alongside that debuting, be creative finisher. Another thing to see maybe debut alongside creative finisher would be create a signature as well. You know, that kind of thing where they have this move, it's their signature, they do it every match, but it doesn't ever end it. That's what the finisher's for, but the signature kind of sets up the finisher. It'd be nice to be able to create a signature as well as a finisher, because it doesn't really matter what a signature is. It can be some of the most basic moves in wrestling, but they still use it as a signature because they perform in a certain way that everybody else doesn't. And I think it would be, you know, nice to be able to perform, like, to be able to create your own. I think another thing, uploading music, themes for people who watch or are lifelong fans. A theme is a huge part of a wrestler, and I think being able to, like, upload your own theme for your personal wrestler that you're inevitably going to make, either in the returned career mode or just to use on your own, because, I mean, why not when you have the freedom to. Be nice to be able to not have to use somebody's theme that's already in the game because it just kind of feels cheap. Or if you're like me and you're never a fan of the generics that they have, being able to just go grab, well, hey, I think this song would be a good entrance theme for a wrestler, throw it on the game real quick, that kind of thing. For baseball, or yeah, baseball, I've already covered baseball. Basketball, like I mentioned in the last video, I haven't been playing, I didn't play 2K18 really at all. I'm more of a 2K18 player than a live player anymore, and well, not 2K18, but 2K in general. I play 2K more than I play live. It's a more satisfying game in my opinion. I don't know if everybody agrees, but that's just my personal thought. But as I said, this installment I haven't really touched at all. Down to the point where, I mean, I played like 2 or 3 games. I just rented it from Redbox. I've had it for a day or two. I can't really think of anything. Maybe as they get more into the idea behind dribbling and what people do with it, maybe it would be interesting to see, you know, like for your career mode or whatever, again, you could kind of create your career players' signature combos, things like that, instead of either choosing somebody who's already in the game or generic.
Nearly the pick they needed. They would have loved one there, but at least it does get them to fourth down. Here's Riley Dixon now. On for his second punt. He'd take a repeat of his first.
Returning feature that they've taken out of the game. I don't know if they've put it back in as it is now, but I know earlier in the 2K series, All-Star Weekend had a better feel. Now it's just kind of, hey, do you want to participate? No? Okay, we'll see you later. I know when it comes to presentation of All-Star Weekend, live wins, you know, very interactive dunk contest and everything, but it'd be nice to see something from 2K because they used to do something, so it'd be nice to see them bring something back. But there could be something in the game already. I didn't play a ton on 17, and I, admittedly, barely played 18. Maybe 5 to 10 hours at the most.
Let's not quibble about the game there on second down. That was a positive play because that was a take what you can get situation. Got out to the tight end. Now gives a much better opportunity to convert on third down.
Let's see, design features. I think I'll go back to baseball and add, they are exceedingly rare, so it's not surprising that baseball hasn't covered this already, but it would be cool if baseball would add two things. The ability to make a two-way player like Ohtani. In 18, the closest you can get is basically just have Ohtani pinch hit at DH. Every game if you wanted him to be your DH. Wow, that is not good. Let's hope that is not long term. The other thing that I would like to see is switch pitchers. I know, as far as I can tell, there's only been the one. I believe his first name is Pat Venditte from Nebraska. For anyone who doesn't actually know him, but he is a guy who can pitch with both hands at a major league level, which is extremely impressive. As far as I know, he's the only one that's ever done it, but because there has been one, and it is a feature that can be used in the game itself, it would be cool if they allowed you to make one. I think that pretty much covers things that I'm aching for to either debut or make a return, other than college football. I don't know. I mean, I think we've all had our hopes sufficiently dashed on that. I don't think it's ever going to happen. which is disappointing. And that is one thing that I have forgotten to mention the couple times that I've talked about other things that I could do for content. It might take me a little while to get something set up, because I do believe you have to use a capture card to do anything on the PS3, and I don't have one. But I do have college football. 14, obviously, because it's sadly the most recent one we have.
And on 2nd and 10 now. They're going to look to throw. But he
Ooh,
almost had it
bad throw, bad
defensively.
throw, bad throw.
Could have been a game changer there in the second half.
But
Instead,
I'll
it's
take
third
it.
down.
Can't really complain when you get away with a bad throw like that. Kind of have to just move on to the next play and let it go. Be happy that it wasn't picked. That's about all you can do. Oh, no, that's a big hit. Stewart still seemed to be okay. Which of course he did. Stewart, one thing he has been able to do in his career is take some pretty monstrous shots and get up looking pretty much no worse for wear. I always found that very impressive about him.
So 3 field goals for him here, and this last one helps him stretch out the lead. And he's been solid as usual. And this is what
I guess it'd be a fair point, fair time to ask, since nothing's really started. You know, you got some training camps and OTAs out of the way, but what are people expecting this year for the NFL? I know it's kind of a league where you always have to expect the unexpected and things like that, but you know, just so we can, like we do every year with March Madness, just so we can have our brackets busted, so to speak. What are things that we're expecting this year in the NFL? Who are we expecting to do good? Who are we expecting to not do good? Things like that. Are there any rookies you're looking forward to really seeing how they adjust to the NFL? I know me personally, I'm looking forward to, I believe his name is Theo Ridley, Calvin's little brother. I know he drew a lot of comparisons to Calvin while he was at Georgia, and Calvin himself drew a lot of comparisons to Amari Cooper, but more athletic and speedy, which is I'd say a very good thing to be, especially in today's league. So I'm very interested to see how he'll do. And again, being a Falcons fan, I'm always happy if they get a high-performing receiver to go across from Julio. He could use one. I'm also interested to see how Saquon Barkley is going to perform. I'll admit, personally, this last year, which is rare for me, I didn't pay a ton of attention to college football. I kind of got out of the loop, so I'm not as informed on a lot of the players as I could be, or even would like to be. I do really enjoy watching college football. I think it's very, very fun to watch. So it's a bit sad that all these rookies are coming in and I'm not as knowledgeable as I normally would be, but anyway, what are you, the viewers, expecting from maybe somebody who got put on your favorite team, or maybe your favorite player out of the draft, where he went? What are you expecting out of them?